Antonio, are you here?
Almost.
Because he says dry farming is not or whatever, and you have to say why dry farming, and you have a very good point of dry farming.
Antonio,
Antonio went to the toilet.
Antonio's here. So,
Here again. Good. I don't know what
I was thinking about the comment of Gio. I think he needs to drink less wine.
Of course. He's too young. He doesn't know that
Too
yet.
young. But going to your comment, because I think it's very interesting. When I think whites, I think whatever I had, it can last forever. So everything that I've had, it doesn't matter who did it. If it was the agricultural services, every odd bottle that I opened, the wines are great. They can age and
But
they have
okay,
this.
let me. Did you
Whites?
manage
No,
to
just
drink a
the
lot of
vine.
old
Just
wines
the vine.
from Açores or no?
Sorry.
Do you manage to drink some old wines of the Açores? Dry
Well,
wines? No.
yeah, dry. Well, the word dry is dry. Yes.
Dry.
The oldest. Let's say the oldest, not fortified, so not lagido.
Yeah, not fortified.
So not it was not even called lagido. It was called just pico.
Okay.
So that I had from 1950s. Beautiful.
50s.
I actually had. Yeah.
But you know what? My experience in Tenerife, you cannot taste anything old. Nothing
It
exists.
disappeared.
It is. I don't know.
Yeah.
For what reason.
Disappeared. Same.
Nothing exists.
No,
Whatever you ask
this
people to
1950,
taste, they don't have it.
1954, I think, bottle was opened in Oregon at a son, no, the nephew of an Azorean that,
Okay.
that had it.
Like?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, no favors, just beautiful. And so
No sweet at all. Totally dry.
no sweet, no, totally dry, totally dry. Yeah,
White.
white.
Okay, that's
So, but
interesting.
whites are
Then
one
probably
thing.
have a little bit of red.
No, that's hard to say. But reds, and we started with our first red is 2014. I would say that well, if you've had the Saburinho now, no, you've had.
I did.
You taste it. So it's 2015, and it tastes. I think it's really a masterpiece, and it's not because I didn't. It's not a. I get it. It is what it is. It's just this is what happened. But it feels like it's 10 years older. The sensation that I have with that wine is that I'm tasting something with the complexity of a wine that is much older. And
but when you bottle and feel 10 years older, and 10 years older seems 10 years younger, that's when the wine is good.
Yeah, no, but the thing is, the big question, and I cannot give us an honest answer, is this because is fast? We have a lot of this with the Azores. It feels like it's aging and then it stabilizes, or is it aging and it's dropping? So this is it's something I cannot be able to.
What you tell me, it's all the experience with the whites.
It's very different than the reds. Yeah.
No, but tasting older stuff is always white, and no one knows.
There is no red. There is no red.
Exactly, that's the thing. There's no background for the reds. You don't know what is going to happen. No one knows what is going to happen.
No. I think they're not. At least the way, even for the rosé, I like old rosés. So I have a issue. So I like old rosés. But
rosé is not wine. Sorry.
What's that?
Rosé is not wine. Sorry.
Well, you're from another generation. It's normal.
I'm much older than you. I know more than you because I'm much older.
No, but and there is something that it happens is it's almost like it really abandons the fruit, and so it's just it goes into another dimension, and I think I'm sure that it's not what people expect when people go and drink rosé volcanic with 3 years. They're like, is this all right? And I'm like, this is so exciting, but you can see that it changed a lot. it changes much more than other places. I have no call for this for reds. In what I think is that it's a breath of fresh air. I think when I drink any of these wines there's nothing like it in Portugal. So there's nothing like it.
The freshness, the sea in the wine, all that makes it makes a total difference.
Are there wines to age? Well, we need to tackle that, because also even the vineyards that we're using, they're not ours, of reds. I think there will be a big conversation about Isabella. The first vintage we did 2014. There is no Isabella anymore in the nose, so there is. Okay. You're just left with 8.5 of total acidity and 10.7 of alcohol. So and it's there. It's let's see what's going to happen, and with those wines. Okay.
We go
back to you. Back to you.
Back to you. Back to the continent.
Yeah. So back to you.
I know you're doing wines in the Alentejo, a lot of them.
Yeah.
But if you can choose one region in Portugal, choose now. It's a perfect world. You can choose whatever you want.
But to make wine, the best region,
or there's no best wine. Just interesting to discover new things, something we don't know.
Yeah, I think Azores is
no. Just because of the different, we don't put Azores or any eyes on the same bag. Leave that in the Atlantic Sea and get back to the continent.
If I had to advise someone to
not advise. You don't advise anyone. You have extra time. You don't have much to do anyway.
Well, I would go, but this is my problem. I would go. Someone saying Bairrada, I'd say Bairrada, and I would go to Bairrada to explore, because there's first is maybe I don't travel as much as I would like inside of Portugal, and but it's fine. I have a hard time with this. I think picking one region. If I had to make wine in another region today, if I had to pick one, it would be Collages.
Collages. Okay, that's a very interesting stuff.
Maybe.
Collages. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But
border of Lisbon.
You need to find the sand soil, and that's going to be difficult to find.
You know that my first in 2000 I tried to plant a vineyard in Azores, but in 99 I cleaned some land in Collages.
Well,
but that was it.
I would put it in Collages. Have someone build a house.
I cleaned the land. I cleaned the land with my sister. We cleaned the land, and that was it. So it's like that.
Okay, that's a very interesting area, but it's unicorn area. That area doesn't exist. Yeah. You cannot do anything. But that will be a very interesting areas. Large, I think so. I think Bairrada and it's really interesting area, and I think Dão it's really interesting area. I think though. The more you go back tasting the old wines, the more you see that what other regions that really can give you surprises when you drink an old Portuguese wines. That will be very interesting if you're able to do wines all over. Unfortunately, we cannot do it. Okay, so sorry. Now we're going to change the subject completely. So reds, we're talking a lot of whites. We're talking about
no, but whites. Let's just close your whites. Okay, whites. So we we have some differences on winemaking. So you're not whole bunch, right? On whites.
I'm 100% whole bunch in all the reds. I do.
Whites. To start.
Whites, not at all. No.
Not at all. So you crush.
I crush the stem. Put it in for two reasons. Logistic, small press, and it would put more grapes.
So just sleep less.
Yeah. And it's impossible. Less than that is impossible. I cannot handle it. and as another thing, in the Douro Valley, most of the white wine varieties have a lot of tannins. They have a lot of phenolic. They are very phenolic varieties in terms of whites in the Douro. So I think the less you do skin contact, the better. And then the best thing will do the whole bunch. But the yield in the whole bunch is really very difficult. It takes a lot of time, and the press doesn't take much of the grapes. So I think it's more logistic than anything else.
Okay.
But
with the philosophy, of very little contact. It's the same philosophy, but you are not promoting skin contact.
I don't want skin contact. I don't want the contact with the stems. And plus than that, with this technique, because I rotate a lot the press, I can have a lot more juice without pressing the grapes. So I can have a lot of juice, a very small pressing, but then I lose much more wine on the lees because I have much more lees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and you just adapt to that. There's different ways to do it. Do the champagne pressing. Everything is more clean. You can put it straight to ferment, but the yields are much lower. Or you have higher yields, but you also lose much more in terms of sediments. So my option in the Douro, it's losing sediments, don't have any skin contact, any tannins, any phenolics of the white wine varieties, and just speed it up, put it to the decanter, and put it in the barrel. That's my theory. But if I would have the time, and I don't know how many people are seeing us by now. Probably they're all sleeping.
35.
A lot of what we do also have to do with the logistics, and it's very important the logistics in this case. And you receive a lot of grapes in one day, a lot of white grapes, and you cannot try everything. For me, has been working this way of pressing the white wines.
Yeah. Now, true. I'm whole bunch, and I would say that my pressings are in a certain way. They're not completely, but they are champenoise in a way.
Champenoise or whole bunch crush?
No, whole bunch. Whole bunch, no crush.
Whole bunch.
No crush. So they are 5-hour pressings. So
that's a very good technique. I think you need more time, more press, more volume,
and a press.
Logistically, it's much more complicated.
Yeah. And I also battle with that. And I think you're right with something very interesting is this idea of if we go back to the lagar in Bica Aberta, you're crushing, the juice is running out, a lot more free run. So a lot more, and also it's kind of like a division of the first and second pressings. So it's also kind of a division between both of them. Okay. So it's not a technical. It's a technical logistical decision.
Exactly. You combine both worlds to be able to
always. And then after
I've been able to live with that for many years. So.
Okay. And are you adding sulfur at that phase or nothing in that phase?
Sulfur only after the press.
After the press, same as me after fermentation.
In the vat, because you can leave it for more than.
Because your grapes are a little bit rot in the beginning.
What? No. I make sure I always have the rot in the beginning. Okay, I will tell you something about Douro that you don't know. If you are in Douro, buy a sorting table. That's the only way to make wine. Douro, all vines, everything blended, sorting table is very important. So once you have a sorting table, you can take out everything that you don't know. It's a nightmare. No one likes me because I have to spend many hours in front of the sorting table. But in Douro, I think it's really very important.
You say that also for whites?
Whites and reds.
Yeah.
Whites. For whites, less, but both for whites and reds.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it's really very important when you have.
So press.
Everything is blended.
No sulfur, meaning you want a certain pre-oxidation. So
I want to know. Actually, right now I'm working with a pneumatic press that use vacuum, so no oxygen is the must. I'm used to leave the must to fall down, get it brown, put it on the vat. But that doesn't happen right now because the press is not like that. But I really don't do it. I use a minimum sulfur just to protect, not to start fermenting if you wait 2 days. And then, okay, you pass to the barrels and then can start fermenting.
Okay, so I see something interesting is that let's say that the difference between the two techniques is that the direct press, because the must is cleaner, 6-7 hours
because
after.
You can put straight to fermented.
Yeah,
it's much better.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. No, so but I have a critic to my system. So to the system that I'm using is that by not using sulfur in the beginning, you positively charge proteins. So you could, positively charge phenolics that grab to proteins that stabilize your. And in reality, your system is a little bit more phenolic than the other system, a little bit.
It is because you have the press turning around. Of course, it is.
No.
It is.
And
but the phenolic also protects from oxidation by itself.
So I'm thinking. This is I'm sharing and get your feedback. In some grape varietals like Alicante Branco, there is Boal de Alicante. This year, it got completely stabilized. So it got completely brown, means that it had a lot of phenolics.
Yeah.
And because of that, it precipitated all the protein. So the wine was stable after fermentation. And so I'm wondering if the right amount of contact, of skin contact, is the amount that allows you that in the end, your wine is automatically protein stable.
None of the wines are automatically protein stable. Forget that.
No. But some wines have been this year.
None of the wines are going to be like that.
It depends on how much.
It doesn't exist.
Exists. It depends on how much phenolics you have in the beginning.
Okay. If you compare both techniques, the only thing that it's hard for me in the press, if I use the whole bunch press like you do, I'm very strict, and I would have much less wine than you, because on the press I would be much more aggressive to cut the press before.
Oh, more than me? That's what you're saying?
0.8.
Huh?
0.8 is what I do. 0.8 bar.
Okay, but 0.6 I do first pressings. Then from 0.6 to 2, it's called second pressings. Then I'm going to take everything out.
Okay, but what I do, 0.8 is my pressing of the wine. After 0.8 is not my wine anymore. It's bean. That's a lot of loss.
But I like second pressings.
I don't know. Sorry.
No, look, every time I go to visit the champagne producer, I want to drink their Vin de Taille, and I want to taste it. And there is so much saltiness, brininess. I think it's not good for warm climates. I agree. It's not the best for warm climates, but it is so much texture for cool climates.
Okay. We don't have any cool climate in Portugal.
In the Azores.
That's all my problem.
In the Azores. Well, okay, so we've done the pressing.
I have someone controlling me here. I have a question from William. Who is William? William does he know how to taste wine? William, what? William making questions again? What? He just said, what's the problem with Douro? You need sorting table. I need sorting table because it's a field blend, and when I harvest, some are just overripe and some others are green. We need a little bit of sorting table, and eventually we also have a little bit of morisco to sort out. So we always need sorting table. It's the burdel in.
Well, what you mean is in your whites you need to get the rabigato out.
Yeah, exactly. Throw away. Sorry, I'm sorry. I have too much pressure here. What?
harvesting anything there because it's not.
Someone advised me to tell about something, and it's very interesting because different. I think no. That beside the question, I think socially, and I think that influenced so much the wines of the different regions. It's the approach of different people having the different wine regions. I can tell you the stories of the Douro Valley with the British houses, and not that many years ago, people were paid, not people, actually kids were paid for after the harvest to go and run in the vineyards just to collect the berries, not to lose any single berry because everything was money to produce the wine, to produce the port wine. So people are raised with a mindset that everything is important, harvest everything, everything goes to the vat, we don't waste anything. That's English way version port wine. So if we need today to tell people, okay, the rotten ones stay out, the raisins stay out, everyone is in the vineyard, they say yes, but they never do it. And that's how important it is to have a sorting table, because people in the fields, even if they try to be, it's against that nature. People there didn't have food to eat, and owners of properties didn't let people to go to the trees to eat the fruit they had that was just falling down and get rotten. So sometimes we criticize the way they act, but actually that is a social thing in the region. On the other hand, I do wines in the Vinho Verde area, Alvarinho, and I don't have any sorting table, and I don't need it. And I don't even explain to anyone how they need to harvest. They all know that all the rotten raisins, everything that they cut off the cluster, because by the price they receive, they need eventually, because in Vinho Verde, that is a much more colder, humid climate, they had more food, and they didn't need to suffer that much to think. So the question was that they were pressuring me to answer this question, and I think this is that. It's much more a social thing than a thing of the place of the land. It's a result, and that stays in people's mind, the social thing. And in Douro, I have so many stories of older people tell how they divide the sardine. That's old story that you probably listen in many places in Portugal, and that makes the attitude in relation to wine totally different. So I think that answers the question.
It's funny because I would say that I can do the same comparison between Alentejo and Açores. Is Alentejo? It was a process. So it was almost, even crop thinning was like it was a sin. So you have this process. Then I would say that little by little, because it's quality oriented. You don't have that we don't have the port industry on just the kilo base. So meaning we don't have that
frame.
That frame that occupies 50% of the business, so to speak, and sometimes is the bread and butter of most of the. So it's a little bit different. But what's really interesting in Azores is that even when it was badly paid, they grab a bunch, they take the berries that are rotten out. The bunches, they come when they are picking. So you're picking already completely bent inside of a vineyard that is close to the floor. You're taking it out, and you take the berries that are rotten. And this is, you don't need to tell people to do this. This is just the way it's done.
Why?
And no one will deliver. Why? I think because it's not an industry to start. So it's kind of this. Most of the people that were still having vineyards because their parents had it, and because so there's this idea, and because the criterion of who's paying was always this, even the co-op. So this was the criterion; it had to be in a certain way.
Because I tell you, in the Douro Valley, even people doing the wines for themselves, they would add all the.
They'll do it properly.
They would add everything.
Yeah.
They will add everything.
Yeah.
Everything is better, So that's, and I don't know. People, socially, people probably suffer a lot and had some really bad days. They would have how they manage to have this sense of only doing the good grapes for the wines. That's very interesting because it's much more social. We forget a lot of in the wines. There's so many things that are much more about the society and about philosophy than about the techniques. It's just what is in people's minds, the local people, and what makes them act differently. What makes a people doing a harvest in Douro being so different from the person doing the harvest in Alentejo or a person doing the harvest in Pico?
Yeah, and I think the
totally
key, and I agree. I think the key, and this has been our philosophy in my projects, is who's picking needs to be well paid, who's getting fruit needs to be well paid, and if you take, in reality, if you end the price of the bottle, it's a joke. This is my opinion. That in the structure of the price of what's inside of a bottle of wine, the price of the kilo of fruit in Portugal, it's still not
there yet.
Well, in Azores is getting there. So between 3 and 5 euros, 3 years and 5 euros a kilo.
I don't know how many kilos you have there of grapes in total, so I will not discuss that. And eventually, some years you don't have any kilos of grapes, so I will not discuss that.
No, a good yield, a very good year is 10 hectoliters
per hectare.
Yeah.
How many plants per hectare?
2,000 to 2,500.
Okay. So it's kind of and the vineyards, including younger vineyards or all the vineyards?
Everything.
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
Raise
the prices in your wines.
That's good. No, but I'm saying this is a good year. So 2016, 17.
Prices in your wine then.
No, that's not the point. So, but going to this because I think it's interesting. So, okay, we got this part. It decants. You're holding. You're after pressing. You're putting sulfur to use. I think this is I think a misunderstanding of most. I would say most schools of winemaking, my own, that sulfur is used to protect from oxidation, and in reality, it should be used to protect from fermentation to start. So it's two different logics in the whites. So what you're saying is you don't care, so it's pre-oxidizing, but then what you don't want for sure is that the fermentation starts before you decant it.
Yeah, I try not to sometimes.
Yeah. So so then you're going to decant it, and you're going to move it to smaller
barrels. Wood in general.
Okay.
It happened that sometimes I have to do something in stainless steel, just for the reason that I don't have wood enough. If not, I will put everything in wood. But well, in some cases, it's just production's higher. I don't have barrels enough.
But what do you have against stainless steel?
What?
Not enough taste in your wine for stainless steel? It doesn't give you enough taste.
No, actually, stainless steel is very important for the white wines.
Yeah.
And I really like to leave the white wines in stainless steel after aging in barrel. I think they really lift them up and put them vertically. But doing the fermentation, having smaller volume, I don't care about temperature. I like temperature to raise higher in the white wines fermentation.
When you say high, is because you've decanted cold, so
26,
cold.
28. The question is, we decant managing to have enough lees for the wines not to suffer to finish the fermentation, although they always suffer. But I also don't like to have full lees because then I think the smell is not, the aromatics is not pure enough. So I'd like to clean enough to have a clean aromatic.
But when you say clean, is this long aging or?
Just the eye.
You're saying, are we? No, sorry. Are we in the post fermentation or are we in the pre?
No, we are in the decanting. And
Okay.
then
Okay. Decanting after pressing.
Goes to barrel.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you goes to barrel, you check it out. When the wine
Same.
is clean, but
Just
not
about.
totally clean, because then you
How
have
much
to
kibi? How much kibi? Quanto basta?
Kebe, exactly. You look it, put it on the light. That's the moment. And then too clean, put a little bit of lees and put it in each barrel. And I think it's, I do it like that. But I think that's very important to control, because I think that's, in general, in the wines, everything is about the balance. And in this case, it's really about the balance. Have enough lees to have some food for the yeasts, not having too much, not to influence too much the wine. And I think that makes a total difference in the final result of the white wine. If everything is done perfectly, I don't know. If we always take the right decision, I don't know. But I think that balance, it really makes a difference in the final wine. I really don't. I'm not a big fan of wines fermented with total lees. That they are really, the lees are very imposing. The aromatics are very imposing when you use the lees, and even the.
Are you saying reductive carrots, or are you saying lees?
Not only also reductive, also, but not only. Dirtiness, cloudiness. I would say. I like
aromatic cloudiness.
We lose some purity on that. I think we lose some purity on the final wine, and that's a big thing.
Is it fair to say, when I taste your Alvarinho, that is Riesling inspired?
No, because it does full malolactics. No, Riesling does malolactics.
They do malolactics?
Malolactic because they have too much acidity and it doesn't start anyway. When I've done the,
but would you say that Riesling Classic is with malolactic? It's with no malolactic.
No, it's not. It's not.
Not. Yeah.
But Granito Cru it is. My Alvarinho is almost 100% full malolactic.
Okay.
So the difference is that I don't have the same acidity. I tend to, more than compare with the Riesling, it's compare with Rias Baixas Alvarinhos. They have so much acidity that they all could do malolactic without worrying about it. Me being in Melgaço, I'm just below Ribeiro. It's a much warmer area, so I'm on the limit to do malolactic or not. So malolactic is a way to stabilize the wines and a little bit the inspiration of how people used to do it years ago, that they wouldn't control anything. In some years, malolactic would happen, and in some years they would not happen, just because of the amount of total acidity and.
No, but just to I think to encode for everyone, because the interesting thing of malolactic, let's forget aromas, let's forget the style, is that the final product is much more stable, means that it leads less filtering.
I would love to do malolactic all over. And
I would love to as well.
If I would be in a cold area in France, that would be just amazing.
So, but it means that when a wine has no malic, so the malic has been transformed, it's stable. So there's no more fuel for things to start.
So less filtration, less worrying about what to do with, and that's really very important.
Yeah. Okay. So you'd say no, but yes on the there is something there, or no?
On what?
People don't, when they taste your Alvarinho, they don't say, there's a little.
No, I don't think about my Alvarinho specifically. I think Alvarinho at a certain point have certain similarities with Riesling, without being the same variety in general.
No, but I wasn't talking. Luis, I wasn't talking about the good ones. I wasn't talking about the good ones.
Just the bad ones. The bad ones also. They sometimes seem like a Riesling. The bad Rieslings, of course.
And so, okay, so it's foeder. It's a big cask.
It's foeder. Okay. It's very simple. It's foeder. We press, decant, put it in the foeder. We normally leave it and go to Douro and never come back until the end of the fermentation.
What's the appellation on it?
Sorry?
What's the appellation?
It's Melgaço.
And it can be?
The vineyard is one vineyard in Peso Paderno. It's always the same vineyard. And it's just, you press it, decant it, put it In the beginning, I tried to control the temperature, but quickly I understand that no point to that. Just leave it fermented. And the question is, you don't correct the sulfur, and for some reason, even in that vineyard in Melgaço, it always does the full Malec. So it says 1 year in the barrel, nothing added, and does the full Malo. It happens to does.
And that's giving the protection it needs.
It have any?
That's giving the protection that it needs throughout the releasing of the
one of the
CO2.
protection that is very interesting on the first year, on the 13, it's very interesting because nothing is said in the east, and eventually, 13. Eventually, I clean too much of the must, but it takes a few months to finish the fermentation. And I had 3 foudres. 2,000 liters was new, and you never feel a new oak because that stayed fermenting for 3 or 4 months. And I think that in every fermentation that you have the lees-in suspensions and on the whites and in the very long fermentation, that somehow eats the new oak influence, and you never felt that in the first Granito Cru. And I think that's important. But after that, I leave it. That stays like that. Does the malolactic if you want. No sulfur, 1 year, and on just the moment you take out from the wood to put it in the stainless steel for the next harvest to come, you do the first correction of sulfur, because then you have already made wine.
But would you, like, if you weren't doing, this is a big theme that I have, and I'm leaving some barrels. Would you, if you were not doing that we are mixing always winemaking with logistics. So we have the fermenter, and then there's a moment that we need to prepare to get the new crop. But if you had the possibility, would you be doing an extra 1 year on the lease, or not really?
I doubt that can add something.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I doubt that Alvarinho really needs 1 year in the barrel.
Or even, yeah.
It just helps with the logistic.
Yeah. All the blind,
being
all the
8
blind
months, 7 months doesn't mean that will be not better. It just also means the logistic. It really makes a difference being 1 year or 7 months. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think but 2 years the wine with the yeasts, a normal wine, I don't think so. A wine with a floor, or a white wine with specific characteristics. Eventually, the wines that I do, 2 years, I don't think so.
Okay. I don't know, but
we never know. In the end, we never know. Oh, I have a written paper. Smile. They say you are nearly asleep. Wait.
Nah,
look.
Now, I think we're good. I think good. So we did this, and what's the difference for granite, for Xisto?
Very simple. Press, decant, small barrels.
Smaller. So smaller containers?
Smaller barrels.
But not, so why foudre? You Riesling.
Well, one thing. Okay. Alvarinho have more fruit.
Yeah, true.
And some similarities to Riesling.
Yeah.
So traditionally, Alvarinho, how was done years ago? Well, if you think Monção Melgaço, the region, it was mainly painted with red, not with whites. So all the families will start to doing the red wines and drinking the red wines. They all be aging in 600 liters old wood. But of course, they will start drinking the reds. As long as the level will go down on the barrel and the weather start be warming, the red wines get higher volatile. So the only solution they had is to drink faster, because no one wants to throw away wine. So by April, May, they will be drinking very high volatile red, just not to throw away. And the white wine, because it was a secondary wine, it will be kept in the winery. And somehow they got a solution of, after they finish the red, and because it was already too warm, they will be bottling the white in whatever they want. Normally not bottles, 5 liters, 10 liters bottles, whatever they could find. So actually, the wine that was bottled later to be drunk later and eventually in the winter was more the white than the red. And just because the red was more important to them, so white was secondary, and eventually the white wine came much later. So it's a little bit trying to understand how all these people behave and
But one
what
cool
could be
thing
those
that you
wines.
just said, because it's region to region, and I think it's really cool that people get it. So to get this, I think it's so funny because the other day I was speaking with someone. So in Douro region, people would be producing port wine but drinking common wine.
Yes.
In Vinhos Verdes, people will be producing white wine and drinking red.
Red wine.
White to sell, red to drink.
The Douro is exactly the same thing. You know, the Douro,
in Azores,
what gave the money was the port. Imagine,
yes,
you harvest for
in
port
Azores,
wine.
people will be doing whites to sell,
Yeah.
and vinho de cheiro to drink, reds to drink.
Exactly.
And it's really like these two worlds coexisting. The wines you are producing to sell, and the wines that everyone drinks. So no one can imagine, but vinho verde, what people drink locally, is red.
Red, red. In the 60s, in the 70s, white wine was not a
What?
thing, you know. Juice for the ladies. Who the hell was going to drink white? You know, if you are a true man, you don't drink white wine, and that's the thing. And eventually, in the summer, they will drink a little bit of that wine.
And another cool aspect that has nothing to do, it's out of context, but it's funny. I was wondering this idea of côte rôtie, using also always a little bit of Viognier. And in Açores, it was clear to me, everyone goes there to our winery to get the skins. They want our skins. And I was like, why do they want our skins? To do their reds. And I thought, but why do they want the skins of our whites to do their reds?
They want wines to be lighter because they drink in volume.
No? They want alcohol.
Yeah.
They want the sugar because the whites ripen earlier than the reds. So they go there and get the skins to increase their alcohol level a little bit. So they put the skins of our whites in their reds, and it feels a little bit less, let's say, for something from the past, it feels more logic than saying that people want to increase the structure of the wines or that they want to give it. It feels.
It's just now in the Douro, you still have growers, they add the whites, not because of the alcohol content or they have to, just because they want lighter wines because they drink in volume and because if they are in the vineyards and they drink 3 liters of wine, they don't want to get drunk.
Yep.
And that's the spirit. That's like explanation of everyone. You know, too much color, too much tannins. If you want to see that, that's the next.
What are you drinking?
Ganva. Jura, sorry. It's not Portuguese.
Beautiful. What producer?
Ganva.
Ganva.
And I think it's a lot of have to do with the approach that people have to the wine. They had an idea, you know, I'm going to every day to the vineyard, and every day in the vineyard I drink 2 or 3 liters of wine. I want something lighter, open in color, to kill my, because they don't take any water,
just to close the white theme, okay?
Okay.
If you
we have 2 hours and get to the reds.
No, yeah. So we have 15 minutes for the whites. So if you are going to plant a white vineyard today in Douro, so one thing is to kind of lean on old vines as a solution, but they're going to get, at a moment, they're too old to produce. Yeah, they'll die. So at the same time, our generation has 2 roles. One is saying, okay, there's so much potential there, but so where would you plant it, and with what would you plant it with?
Okay, in the Douro Valley.
Yep.
Choice number 1, Rabigato, but you have to tell me about what you intend in terms of style of wines. There are some interesting varieties, depending on the style of wine you want, like Gouveia, Códega do Lourinho, and others. Just depending on the style of the wine. Mm-hmm. In regions, I have 3 main areas. Mursa area, near Alijó, Carrazeira de Anciães, Pombal, really interesting area, and Meda. For me, the three best areas indoor. Very simple.
I'm happy that I'm none of them.
Do you want to give you a lesson about that?
I'm learning.
No, I would choose that. I also don't know, to be honest, I also don't know the others that well. I have only one single experience. I'm consulting one producer named Quinta da Costa do Pinhão. And I don't know why that is actually, it's more difficult to show the terroir because it's a skin contact white than like a red from a specific vineyard in that area that is really very interesting. But I already had the attitude of doing skin contact, maybe to run away from the terroir there. So maybe because I didn't believe that much in terroir, I said, well, maybe here we do skin contact on this wine because we need to add something else. But in many cases, I also don't know that. Well, eventually, Tavra Verosa area with granites could be interesting. Even the Baixo Corgo, where you have the granite areas for the whites, that could be interesting. You know, you have some interesting white wines from this young producer, Diogo Frei, and using some granite soils could be interesting. I tasted some things from Montenegro from granite soils is interesting. I just don't know them, so I cannot talk about them.
Yeah, okay.
But that eventually
would
be very interesting.
You're with Rabigato?
Rabigato, Gouveio. I like Gouveio. Código it's a bit bitter in the end. I think it's better in the blend. Código de Lourinho, much fruitier, much early ripener. And then you have Borrado de Moscas. Borrado das Moscas, that is Bical. It's really very interesting in some areas.
Bical, okay. Okay, interesting. Yeah, cool. Okay, switch to reds.
Reds. We have 5 minutes to reds. Okay.
We're just here for 2 hours now. I have nowhere to go.
Everyone is sleeping there already, no?
So go. Reds. Well, whites. I think we're closed. It's
okay.
What I'm not sure is if what you've spoken is enough to make a Douro wine last forever. And I'm wondering
who knows how to make a Douro.
But we'll be here. We'll be here in 20 years. No, I don't.
If you don't just tell, I don't know.
I don't. No, I don't.
If you know, I will be glad.
No. I'm saying it in a concerned way, on a way that I think there needs to be a certain more. I think levels of a certain floor. I think there are level. You saying it changes the style? I would say depends how much floor.
You think you have to have? No, I don't think you need. I think floor is getting in the fashion, and actually, I don't know if I even have a wine with floor now in the door. It was an accident, but it really
always
changed
is.
The wine. It always is an accident, but. It really changed the wines. You don't need the floor to make a wine to last. Come on. I don't think you need that. I think basic rules without being fundamentalist is, I think.
Now you're convinced of it. This is more important. The important is that you're convinced of it. And then we'll see.
I'm very convinced of it. Don't be so freaked out about protection of oxidation.
Of course, yeah.
Because eventually, if you are very protective, that leads to white wine that doesn't age that well.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, of course, each case is a case.
Yeah, but grapes like Riesling, Arinto, and Alvarinho, they don't care. They can age even reductive. They can do it. But most of the other grapes can't.
No, you can do it in a totally different way. Yeah. Sugar protects the wine.
Mm-hmm.
So today, it's badly seen for people if you have 4 or 5 grams of sugar on a dry wine. But in the old days, many of the wines had 4 or 5 grams of sugar that you feel in the first 5-10 years, but then you don't feel it anymore. And sugar protects, sugar molecule always connected with the aromatic molecule, and everything makes a wine to be able to age longer, maybe a little bit difficult in the first 5-10 years. No one has time to wait that much time. But maybe sugar is another way to protect white wines. So all of that.
Do you sell it when you sell the wine? Do you provide the little package of sugar?
Maybe I should with when we
With a little spoon.
a little bit inject the cork and leave it there. If you want to live 10 years, put a little bit. If you want to live 20, a bit more of sugar. 30, a little bit more of sugar. That's a very good question. Maybe
Small doses. You want it to last 10 years? 2 syringes. 2 syringes.
Do you want to drink now? Don't add any sugar.
Fair enough. Okay, so white, good, reds. So we have 9 minutes for reds.
Reds are reds. Put all the stamps, everything, and that.
Okay, reds is the big theme because I say we didn't disagree a lot on the whites, so that's a little bit sad.
Let's disagree on the reds. Do we have time for that?
The reds.
With manager, do we have time to disagree on the reds?
We have more to disagree on the reds. You winemaking, you are in whole bunch, 100%, 70%, 50%.
At the moment, I'm 100% in all the wines.
Whole bunch.
Whole bunch. Doesn't mean that next year will be totally different, but for now and for the last 3 or 4 years, I'm 100% whole bunch.
Okay, so but whole bunch, no crushing, or just really whole bunch that you.
No crushing or crushing already with the vat by the weight, by someone trodding the vats, depending the volume that you have. Sometimes you have the big vats, you have to use a pump and the crushing is already done in the pump, but always using the 100% stems.
Why?
Freshness. Bring a bottle, bring a good one.
Now I have Willem here, so I opened this 2 days ago and I'm.
Oh, okay. 2 days ago. How is it today?
Yeah, 2 days ago. William, what I do with your wines is I open them, I drink a little bit, I love it, and then 2 days after.
To the stew.
No, the opposite.
You keep
The
on
opposite.
drinking them.
No. The opposite. I think if you want to, same goes with your wine. Your Shishtu, I had your Shishtu 2016.
Wait 3 days. Wait 3 days.
Yes, that's what I did.
That's why I never sold the bottle. I always told
that's what I did.
Wait 3 days, you're crazy.
No, that's what I did. So I opened it. I said, that's fine. Okay, I like it. But I'll taste it in next day. Okay, good. And beautiful wine. Really.
No, but it's really very interesting. And I think in the reds, what the interesting thing is, we're living in a time that we need to have the reds ready to drink. And the theory years ago was not to have the reds early to drink, was to have the reds, leave them and forget them. And I think that changed completely. Suddenly you selling 2018, I just start selling 2018 that people are really going to drink it. Thank God, because I need the money, but they are start drinking 18 right now, and it's scary.
But what you're saying, just to say, to understand, so what you're saying is that there is a extra challenge is to have wines. Well, number one, you're saying that before wines were undrinkable young. Is that what you're saying? Or less drinkable young?
They were undrinkable when they were young.
Undrinkable when they were young. Yeah.
I'm a little bit older than you, not much, just a little bit.
But it shows. It shows.
And I'm a classic, And for me,
you are a classic.
Very classic.
It's very good of you to say that.
For me to give, credits to a red wine. It's a red wine that I think is going to age for many, many, many years. Something that I think I can drink it in 30 years and it's going to be amazing. It's where I put more money. And although eventually I'm not going to drink it because I drink them too fast and it doesn't fit with the way we're drinking today. But this is something we forgot. It's to see.
So, but you think, just to say, in your opinion, a wine to age well, it needs to be hard in the beginning?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
Actually, a little bit the opposite. A wine that doesn't go balanced to the bottle
Balance is a political word.
Well, it's difficult because it can be young. It can be young, a little bit difficult to drink, but you see that everything is on the right place.
Yeah.
So for many years, especially from the 90s, from the early 90s on, people are using the bottling age as an excuse. You know, Priorat, even Douro and other warm areas saying, well, the wine is a bit too tannic, too oaky, but in 10 years' time it's going to be fantastic. And people learned that after 10 years, the wine was dead. So where the base of the wines to age are tannins, acidity, freshness, some kind of balance, concentration, of course, deepness on the wine.
And less,
you cannot say by
less
words.
For me, less paranoia on topping barrels and correcting sulfur.
Well, depending on the paranoia of correcting barrels. I think
this is my opinion for some reason, is there is a profile of fruit. So let's go to the opposite. Let's see if you agree, Kay. One is in certain way putting wines into bottle that they are, let's say they are, I'm going to use a chemical term. It means the tannins are highly reactive still, so they are profound antioxidants, so they are oxygen scavengers. The wine is reductive, is closed. So this is one.
If you say anything more, I'm already agree 100% with you.
So one philosophy. Second philosophy, let's go to Tondonia. And let's say, well, no, I don't think so. I think that we should bottle our wines after they've done their evolution.
Of course.
Yeah. And I need my wine to be kind of dead, so to speak. So I need my wine to oxidize enough so that it's ready to go to bottle and to be on a steady state.
Okay, I will do the truly caricature of how the wines were done in the 90s in Portugal. They would be fermented. Preferably, they would do malolactic during the fermentation or immediately after. They will correct the sulfur as soon as possible. Malolactic done in stainless steel, and then put it into barrel. The tannins didn't have the time to combine and stabilize. So everything was grippy. They want to preserve the fruit of the fermentation forever. That is something that can never happen. And that's what you're telling.
You can promise, but you won't.
Yeah, no, exactly. This paranoia of taking a picture and preserve a wine in a certain moment that will never stay there. And those wines.
But you're saying 1990s, so it changed that way of making?
Okay. I have to be diplomatic. Oh, I have the boss here. I cannot answer your question.
You have 2 minutes. What we are doing?
We have the 2 minutes. Oh, sorry.
No, we still have. We're still going.
You want more?
Yeah.
So okay, we're going to the next one if you want.
Don't worry. Someone is telling that I'm going to visit you. What's happening? I'm going to visit Antonio. I don't want to see Antonio. Why do I have to go to Emirates to his beautiful land and new winery? I don't
now, come and taste some wines, and then you get to taste. Let's taste my first wine. You come here and you taste my first wine, and then you.
No.
And what's going to be fun? What's going to be fun?
It's going to be good. Seriously.
Is it? You're actually going to think it's good? It's going to be fun. Yeah.
Okay, Antonio. Jew is organizing everything anyway.
So we are going all together, like 50 people to your place.
50? No, better not. No, 50 is too much. Just keep it quiet.
Well, I have dormitories upstairs. You can say whatever you want. I'll clean it up for you guys.
I was there. I know.
As long as
you know how it works.
To sleep, don't worry.
Okay. So in half a minute we are going to speak a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
I want to
keep on going.
Yeah.
I cook some food.
No, it's going to be taped, so it's fine.
Okay.
Gio.
Yeah.
Are you actually after putting it on EGTV, or are you doing it as usual that you forgot, or what's going on?
No, it was forever. Forever.
It's forever.
Okay. So see you guys soon.
Well, soon.
Okay.